Hey there, Rails programmers. I'm Harriet Oughton. This is Rails in Focus, a series by the community for the community where we share Rails tips that have helped us in our own applications. Today, we're exploring a critical but often overlooked feature of modern Rails applications, the Error Reporter API. Whether you're building a small app or managing a large ecosystem, knowing when and why things go wrong is essential. That's where Rails Error Reporter can help. Introduced in Rails 7, it gives you a standardized way to track, report, and respond to any exception across your application. Let's dive into the world of error reporting in Rails. If you've worked with Rails versions before 7, you'll probably recognize how error handling often used to mean implementing custom solutions or relying on third-party gems. However, the Error Reporter API has recently changed all that by providing a built-in, consistent solution for handling errors. At its core, the Error Reporter is a pretty simple concept. It's a centralized system that catches exceptions, formats them, and sends them elsewhere to process, offering simple and consistent syntax across an application. So first, let's take a look at the basic structure. The Rails Error Reporter can replace boilerplate error handling code like this in my product service class with this cleaner and simpler syntax, which appears in my customer's service class. Previously, we would have lent heavily on begin rescue blocks in these scenarios, but this newer pattern gives us the option of gracefully handling exceptions by wrapping our code instead. For example, if we call customerservice.new.call in our console and try to create a product with the wrong attributes, we can see that the error is neatly captured by the setup that I'll show you a little later on. Alternatively, we can use rails.error.record instead of handle, which will raise the error instead of swallowing it as handle does. We can see this raise in action if I replace handle with record, reload the console, and run the code again. Now, let's do a step-by-step walkthrough of implementing the Error Reporter in a slightly different way. This time, we're going to use rails.error.report, which allows us to manually report the error from within our old begin rescue block, as we will see. Getting started is fairly straightforward. First, we'll need to set up a subscriber object to tell our application what to do when an error is thrown, and we'll register this subscriber object. Here, I have set up a test error subscriber class with a report method inside. A subscriber can be any object in your codebase with any name, as long as it has a report method. Within the report method, all I'm doing for now is displaying the error information in the console once the error is reported, but you can choose to perform any action with the error that you like within this method. At the bottom of the class, we can see I've registered the new subscriber class using rails.error.subscribe and passed in a new instance of the subscriber class that I've written. At the beginning of the file, I've used the setContext method as an optional extra, so that we have the name of the Rails application available in the data, just in case we use one error reporting service for multiple different applications. Now, let's see our error reporting code in action in the context of a controller. As we can see here, I've set up a test controller and the associated routes to allow me to hit these actions through requests sent by my browser. Calling /test from the browser is routed to the index method, so we know the controller and the routes are working. Calling /test/error will hit the error type method, which throws a standard error. If we look at the console, we can see that using rails.error.report is calling the subscriber and logging details of this standard error to the console. Calling /test/error/division will also throw the error that results from trying to divide 10 by 0. We can also see that this error has been picked up in the console by the Error Reporter, and the code in the subscriber has printed out this information. While logging errors to a file or to the console is useful for development, production apps typically use services like Sentry, Bugsnag, or Honeybadger to collect and flag errors. We could make some simple modifications to the code in the report method of our test error subscriber to report the error to our chosen third-party service. Check out the individual documentation on their sites to learn how to do this. What's more, the Error Reporter isn't just for exceptions. We can also use it to track any error-like conditions, for example, to manually report an error when a credit card fails validation, even though no exception was raised. Before we end, let's cover some best practices for using the Error Reporter effectively. Firstly, be selective about what you report. Not every exception needs to be sent to your monitoring service, and use severity levels appropriately. Next, provide meaningful context. Include relevant information that will help you diagnose issues, but absolutely avoid sensitive data. Also, don't swallow exceptions silently. Even when handling errors, make sure they're logged or reported somewhere. Finally, consider performance impacts. Extensive error reporting can, of course, affect application performance. The Rails Error Reporter gives us a flexible, powerful system for managing errors throughout our applications. By centralizing error handling and providing consistent context, it makes debugging easier and improves application reliability. In your next Rails project, consider making the Error Reporter a core part of your infrastructure. Your future self will thank you when that 3 a.m. production release is accompanied by detailed, contextual error reports. Are you using the Rails Error Reporter in your application already? Let us know how you found it in the comments below. If you'd like to know more about anything you've heard in this video, you can also check out the Rails guide on the Error Reporter. The link will be in the description. See you next time. The crowd went wild.